Good morning, everybody. 8:30 a.m. Friday. Happy Friday. Having a little morning coffee to wake my butt up. And I'm going to do a little market analysis today, guys. I'm going to be using Propstream and the Propstream Mobile App. Do a little market analysis. I use Propstream every single day. I use it on my laptop. I use it on my cell phone. It's basically the software that I use to run comps and analyze all of my deals. So if a property lead comes in, or let's say that one of our cold callers or cold texters is calling or texting, we are using Propstream to figure out information about the property, where it's located, how many bed, how many bath, the square footage of it, how long the owner has owned it, how much equity it may have, what do the comps on the property look like, are there other similar bed, similar bath properties in the area, and if so, what have they sold for? Also, how many people or how many properties are in the area and what the proximity is to the subject property. We also use Propstream for exporting lists of motivated sellers. So if you guys are watching, you've probably seen me doing a lot of driving for dollars with Deal Machine app. I love that app. And that is just a great way to generate leads. Propstream, I get asked this a lot. If I were to go and get Propstream or Deal Machine, like let's say I'm new and I can only get one or I only afford one, I would start with Propstream because you need to know how to comp properties, and also you get the ability with your Propstream membership to export lists and leads. So you can export leads of motivated sellers, or you can export cash buyers, which is huge. Okay, so today we're gonna do a little, little morning coffee. Grab yours if you guys are watching. And we're going to dive into Propstream, talk about some of the cool features that it has, and then I can even hook up my phone and show you guys a little bit of the Propstream Mobile, which is sweet. So let's jump right in. Give me 1 second to get situated. Make this a little bigger so you guys can see it real nice and clean. All right, so here's Propstream. It has tons and tons and tons of usage. Again, it does have the new mobile app, which we're going to be diving into here in a couple minutes. We use it for all of our comping needs. It does have a rehab estimator, of course, comps. It does have some marketing tools. It's jam-packed with data. So I really, really, really like it. Let me see if I can do this. Aha. Put this down in the corner here, guys, so you can see me. All right, jumping in. Let's go ahead and log in. All right, grab yourself a coffee if you haven't got one already. It tastes great. All right, so we're going to start by just doing a little market analysis in my own city. This is where I live. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, if you type in St. Louis, Missouri, or any of your cities, you're going to notice over here on the right side, it's going to show you unique properties. There's 384,000 properties, guys. Are you kidding me? In St. Louis, Missouri. So when we are pulling our list, we'll want to go up here to this filter option, and we're going to want to filter to try to find a presumed motivation. So it is actually just amazing, all of the features that this software has. You can even draw on the map, which is awesome. So let's start by looking at the comping before we jump into doing market analysis. Let me make sure that my stream is still alive. All right, cool, we're good. So one of the properties that I own, let's see here. Let's do 218 North Floridale. This is a property that I own, and it shows that it has an estimated value of $41,000. It's off market, not distressed, individual owner, which would be me, and it's non-owner occupied. This is actually one of my rental properties. Okay, now I have a bunch of rental properties. I have about 65 to 70, somewhere in that range. We're constantly buying and selling, so I don't even know the exact number. This particular one is used in a line of credit, meaning I don't owe any money on it. It's paid off. And I have 5 or 6 of these properties that are paid off that I have in a line of credit. And basically, the bank will lend me 70% roughly of the equity. And that's why we see the estimated equity on this one at negative 225. So that's not an error. That's actually accurate. And the reason is because if I didn't have this thing collateralized with my bank, then it would show estimated equity at the estimated value because I don't owe anything. I owe 0 on this one. However, I've borrowed against it. So I put it into a package with 5 or 6 other properties that have equity, got a line of credit, and I use that line of credit to buy and sell, cover repair costs, and then I refi and get that back. So that line of credit's constantly moving up and down with how much I borrowed against it. But I want to point that out because that estimated equity is actually right. I have that line of credit on it. So that's not an error. That actually does make sense. And I can look at other properties. Let's just look at one, maybe up the street here. Let's click on this one here. This would be, and we'll get the details. This is 3 South Floridale. That one didn't work. Actually, let's just stick to my subject property. Keep it simple. Okay, so if I click on the details, now this is the one I own. It's going to show me, I'm on the other one again. Let me start over here. Get rid of that. 218. North Floridale, Delwood, St. Louis, Missouri, 63135. And it's still bringing up that one. See if I click on details, if it gives me the right one. Nope, still on 3. So let's cancel that one. Or just go back to the subject property mine. There we go. Okay, so this is it. We're going to click on details. 218 North Floridale. You can see, look at this, guys. Ownership, David Dodge. That is me. So it pulls up the owner. This is my mailing address. This is the house I'm sitting in right here, right? This is 1311 Kindon. Guys, this is where I live. So it pulls up the mailing address. And the reason that the mailing address is different from the property address is because I don't live there. So they need to know where to send the tax docs, right? So that's very important. There's 11 comparables. Up here you can see the estimated value. So the estimated value of this house is $40,000. I actually bought this house for 19 grand. It's the first property that I bought to rehab. And I bought it as a flip. I put in, let's see here. I bought it for $19,000 and I think I put in about 25. So 19 plus 25 is 44. And you'll notice the estimated value is 41. This was the first one I did. So I was basically into this thing for what it was worth. And the estimated value is the estimated. I could probably sell this thing for 45 to 50 grand right now because it is rented, I think, for maybe 750 or 800 a month. But I decided to keep it as a rental because I spent 5, 6, almost 7. I probably spent 6 or 7 months rehabbing this house. It needed everything. I mean, it could have been torn down, quite honestly. But I decided that I wanted to learn how to rehab, and it was like a classroom for me. I used this property to learn how to do plumbing, learn how to do electrical, learn how to set tile and do grout and install cabinets and install countertops and do electrical work and plumbing work. And I had a new roof put on it. I had new windows put into it. I redid the floors. I gutted the kitchen and the bathroom. I mean, I literally did everything on this property. I probably spent closer to 30 grand on it, to be quite honest. And I learned a lot of lessons. I learned that it's not really beneficial or useful to rehab a property um, where the rehab costs more than the purchase. So if you can buy something for 10 or 15 grand, but it needs 30, probably not that great of a deal. If you can buy something for 30 to 40 that maybe needs 10 or 15, that makes more sense. So one of the major lessons that I learned from um, this deal was don't buy properties that need more rehab than the purchase price. Now, there's exceptions to this rule, of course, but general rule of thumb is don't buy properties that need more work than the purchase price. It just it takes forever. You have a lot of risk with those deals, so that's just kind of where I'm at with that. So last year it was worth 46. This year it's basically going to show you kind of a trend on the property. Now, if I back out of this, for example, and I click this little button right here, I don't want to do the analysis. I want that thing to just go away. We're just going to refresh and start over. There we go. 218 Wholesaling. There we go. So what I was getting at is I can click this little button here once I get the property pulled up. And this is actually going to show me statistics for the entire zip code. This is very, very helpful. So it's going to show me 1.81% last 30-day price range. It's gone up a little bit. The last 30-day rent change has gone up almost 5%. Here is the price per square foot within this zip code. This is super helpful when you are buying or selling property to try to figure out where the prices are going, right? Is this going to be a place that's going to appreciate? Is it going to stay consistent? And also trends. So like the average days on market, check this out. This is a 2-bedroom house. So the average days on market is 107 days. That's almost 4 months. 90 days will be 3 months. So you're looking at 3 to 4 months average days on market, and that's pretty consistent for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedrooms. It's going to be somewhere around 80 to 90 days up in this zip code. Definitely very, very helpful information. New pre-foreclosures by month, average rent. Look at the rent increase, but this is also by bedroom. So the average rent for a 2-bedroom in this zip code is $845. I think I'm getting 8, maybe even 8.25 for this one. Awesome information. My cat's going crazy. So then we have listing trends, homes for sale. It looks like we have 76 homes for sale within this zip code. We have a 31% increase on those. And then you have other data here. You know, your list price, the average list price is 75 grand in this zip code, which is actually kind of shocking. I would have thought it would have been closer to 50 or 60, but that's good information to know. So this is just, and we're looking at one zip code basically around a property that I own here today, guys. Back to list price versus sale price. This is great data to see here because it looks like the list price was 75. The sale price was 174. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Usually that's inversed, but there's probably a reason for that. Days on market versus inventory. This is a good thing to kind of keep in mind and look at. The days on market to the inventory, that's kind of flattened out, which is great. It used to be inventory really high with 127 days on market. Now our inventory is low. All right, this is a year. This is basically looking at September 19 back September 2019 all the way over to September of this year of 2020. So you can see our inventory has gone from 354 down to 76. That's a good sign. That means that for anything that I own in this area already, that it's going to sell quicker and for more, most likely, due to that statistic. I can also change these by the time frame. So let's say I want to look at a listing trend and I want to look at the last 6 months, for example. I can see that data changes. So a lot of really just useful information right here in this little tab that pops up. And this is basically going to pull my statistics for a zip code. So depending on what property I have up here, it's going to change, which I absolutely love. Now, if I click over here on the details, as you can see over here on the right side, you can do analysis. You can save this property, or you can actually dive deep into the details, which I'm going to do next. I also have nearby listing information, which is really cool because it uses proximity. So the closest house will be this number 1, and then number 2, and then number 3 across the way, and then number 4, which is actually on a different street, but it's closest. So you can see these numbers count up based on proximity. So if I scroll over here, I can make my screen a little bigger, I believe. There we go. I can actually see the estimated value and the last sale amount and date of these close houses in proximity. So it looks like number 1, literally the next door neighbor, has an estimated value of 52. The one next door to that has an estimated value of 53. That one sold, it looks like 17 years ago for 55. When they sold that long ago, that's not super useful, but hey, more data is better. It's always better to have more than less when it comes to data and running numbers and doing due diligence on comps, so on and so forth. So this is just a quick tool to kind of see what's going on. When I'm looking at comps and running comps, I actually go into details and I'll show you why. You can dive a lot deeper, okay? So the monthly rent, that is an opportunity. That's an estimate. I think I'm actually getting 8 to 8.25 on this particular one. And then you have other information. So property details, you can scroll down and you can see there's 4 total rooms. This is a 2-bed, 1-bath. It's a small little home. Water source, municipal, sewer, municipal. So some of this information is not going to be as useful, but some of it is going to be really, really useful. So you can see your building size in square foot, and then your living size. You have land and location information. Here's my description, which is the legal description. You have the total assessed value. My property taxes on this one are $916. So that can be really helpful when you're going to make an offer on a property or you're analyzing a property, knowing what the taxes are. When I first bought this, my taxes were like $200, but because I rehabbed it every other year, the county's going to come in and they're actually going to do an analysis. It's called or they're going to basically do an appraisal on it, but it's a county appraisal. It's called an assessment, and they're going to assess it and see what the property is worth, and from there, they're going to basically determine how much you owe in taxes on it. So that's correct, but that is super helpful for me to know when I'm looking at other properties that I may be buying or looking to buy, the amount of taxes that are owed. So you can see the sale date, and it looks like this is where I used to live, and this was the company that I bought it in. I bought it from Carol Riddenhauer and her son, who actually facilitated the transaction. And it looks like I bought this house 4/28 of 16. So that was about 5 years ago, give or take. I guess it would be, yeah, over 5 years ago. And again, this was the first house I bought to rehab, and I ended up keeping it as a rental. So many lessons were learned from this project. Um, the reason that I kept it was A, I had spent 6, 7 months rehabbing it, but it was okay. It was a classroom. And if I would have sold it, I would have essentially broken even. I didn't really need the money because I bought it cash and I spent my own cash and credit cards, of course, to rehab it. And I just figured, hell, at this point, let's just add it to the portfolio. I already had about 10 rentals at this time. Now I have about 65 to 70. But I just decided, hey, I don't really need the money back. Let's add it to the portfolio. But again, it was a very, very great property to buy because, and I'm not upset that it took me 6 or 7 months. That was my classroom. People pay 60, 80, 100 grand to go to college and learn something that they don't even end up using in their career. I spent 6 months fixing a house with lots and lots of help from friends and contractors and other people that I would need to bring in. But I didn't just hire people to do the work. Instead, I said, hey, this is what I need to get done. For example, I need to gut this bathroom. I need to redo the tile on the floor and the walls, and I need to do everything. So, I want to learn. I'll hire you to do it, but guess what? I'm going to be your helper. And I'm not even looking for a discount per se, but that's part of the contract. Either you work with me or I find somebody that will. And that's what I did. And I basically got friends and subcontractors and contractors to come in and help me do all the little things. I was there for the electrical work. I was there for the plumbing. I was there for the roofing. And I learned everything. It was my classroom. So loved really working on this particular deal. Now, if I scroll up, you're going to see all these little areas right here, these little tabs, and I can actually get it right at the top. So I can look and I can see cash sale. Looks like back in 2001, there was a cash sale on it, but it was an arm's length transaction, probably within the family. Um, doesn't particularly say. Comparables and nearby listings. This is where I go to do the comp. So I showed you guys earlier when I exit out, I can see nearby neighborhood properties. And again, this is done by the proximity here. I can also click here and see the MLS data. I can see the pre-foreclosure data, and I can see the foreclosure data. So look at this. This shows me all the foreclosures that have happened in this area recently. Here's all the properties that have been in or that are in pre-foreclosure. So this basically means that they haven't been foreclosed on yet, but the bank has sent notice and or filed, with the county that there's going to be a sale on the property. So these actually make for great leads, guys. Go work these leads right here, right? But when I click back into details and I click on comparables and nearby listings, this is just going to make the screen a lot easier to use and bigger. I can go to public record, MLS data, or both. Now, this pulls MLS data from all over the entire country. So if you don't live in the United States, I don't really know what to tell you. But if you do live in the United States, of America, you are going to be able to have MLS access nationwide. All 50 states, MLS access, awesome. So if I was to go look at some of the nearby comps of this particular property, you can see that it already starts in with a date range. It goes 9/4/19 to 9/4/2020. That's 1 year. It's going to basically give me a plus or minus. So on this one, my square foot's 768, and it's going to give me a plus or minus. So it looks like maybe about 150, give or take. Either way. And again, I can modify this. I can also modify my my distance to the property. So I typically like to look 6 months. So 6 would be, I think, April, May. I'm not really good with math. I bought it on the 4th. So yeah, there's 5, 6, 7 months, something along those lines. And up here, you're going to see, it's going to show you your average sale price, your average price per square foot, and then also average days on market, guys. So you can save those comps, add them to the list, or do different actions with them. So I want to do a minimum of 2 bed. I don't want to look at 1 beds. And if I really wanted to just look at 2 beds, I could do it 2 min and max. Now my list is going to get shorter unless I take my date range out, I take my square footage out, or I take my distance out. All right, but the idea here is to get a couple really good comps close by, near, that are in similar square foot. So right here, I can see that I have 3 really good comps. And if I scroll down, I can actually see where those are at on the map. Here's my property, and here's those other comps. We have also a 2, so again, this is only 2 beds. I don't have a bath minimum, which is fine, but you can see MLS sold 1,000 or 113 Del Ridge Lane, 48K, 9859 Vicky Place, 37.5, and the 9800 Lorona. This probably was one that needed work, and that's why it was so cheap. On the market for 220 days, whereas these 2 were on the market for less than 2 months. So again, that helps me understand. And I can go click on details on these and look at pictures and do more as well. But it helps me understand the value of the properties. Honestly, the estimated value of the property is really, really, really good. So I'm curious to see what Zillow gives me as the Zestimate for this particular property. And I would imagine it's going to be pretty close. Doesn't have a Zestimate on this one, which is a little strange, but that's okay. Doesn't always have a Zestimate. But here's pictures of this property, and you can see that we did a good rehab on it. So we put in cabinets. Let's see if I can make this any bigger. Here you go. This is the post rehab of this particular property. So we put in cabinets, got new appliances. Very basic though. This is a rental. There's the back door. There used to be a back door with a window in it, but the house was broken into while I was rehabbing it. So I decided, hey, let's make a normal back door, one that doesn't have that window, and it backs up to a shopping center. This is the home. I mean, it's definitely not, a super nice home, but it makes for a great rental. Look how clean this basement is. This basement was terrible when we bought it. Spiders everywhere, filthy dirty. Cleaned it up, painted it. Look how clean this property looks now, guys. Definitely a great rental property. So we did do this asphalt as well. The inspector gave me a ton of shit about that. I remember it like it was yesterday. So, oftentimes it's good to also go into Zillow and look at the estimate of the property, the Zestimate, and compare it, right? Again, more data is better. You typically want more data when you are doing your analysis, okay? So that's basically what we're doing when we're running comps. If you want to look at the public records as well, this is going to show you. So let's take this out. Let's get rid of my 2 min, my 2 max. Let's take my distance to 1 mile, and this is just public record. So you can see I got a $2,500 sale. This sale was before I bought it at $1,100. And then you have another one down here at 206. But typically your public record sales that aren't your MLS, those are going to be not ARVs typically. Those are going to be properties that were bought, directly from the seller. They needed work, and there was a reason that they didn't hit the MLS. They didn't typically sell for retail. Not always, but typically. And then, of course, I can do both. And the public records is going to be green, the MLS is going to be blue. And you're going to see that you're going to typically have duplicates in here because the MLS data usually hits the public record data. It takes a couple months in some cases, but that's where it's at. So check this out. It looks like there was a public sale on this one for $2,500, but then if I go up, there was another sale for $11,500. So $428.20. Somebody bought this property for $2,500, and then they listed it on the MLS in July. So they bought it January, February, March. I'm so bad with months. April, end of April, almost basically May. And then July 23rd, they listed it on the MLS, probably for $19,900 or more, $17,500, who knows. It was on the market for 22 days, and then it sold for $11,500. So somebody did a wholesale, it looks like, on this one. They could have done some rehab. I don't know. I don't even care. But it is very cool to see that the public data, public records, and the MLS can be brought in. It's very useful. The MLS data is typically going to give you your ARVs and your high-end comps. Your public record data is going to show you what the investors are paying for these properties. This is awesome, guys. I love all the data that this brings in. It's tremendously useful, okay? Earlier, I was talking about my property taxes. On this particular one, it looks like I was able to get the taxes down. It doesn't have data from prior. And actually, I'm thinking of a different property, actually. So this one actually is right on. It looks good. But again, very useful information. Mortgage and transaction history. You can see the seller. You can see my company. Estimated loan balance, again, that's not an error. I have a line of credit, a $275,000 line of credit, and I'm pulling on and off that to buy and sell and rehab properties. So whenever you see an estimated balance that's big like this, when the estimated value is low, you can go in and you can see that somebody may have a blanket loan or a HELOC or a line of credit on one property or multiple. So this is phenomenal. I mean, this data is here. It's amazing. Documents and reports, you can get summaries, mortgage analysis, cash flow, expense, taxes, deductions, sales, comps. I mean, all kinds of really, really cool data. And that's basically what we're looking for when we are analyzing a property. Now, if I wanted to do market analysis, not necessarily on a neighborhood or comps of a particular property, but I wanted to look at the market as a whole. What I can do is I can zoom in on my map to where I want it to be. So let's just say right there. And over here in this top right-hand corner where it says Analytics, I can click on this and I can actually do an estimated value. And this will color coordinate my map. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to make my screen a little bigger here too. So this is color coordinated at this point, and it's going to show the estimated value. So up here in my legend, you can see the light blue is going to be under 100K, and the red is over 1 million, and there's a scale. So it goes from light blue to dark blue to green to yellow to orange to red. And it's really cool to see the estimated values of the properties. So I would say I live somewhere in this area right here, okay? And the nicest part of town with the most expensive properties is right here. See this little corridor all the way over to the downtown area? You go up here and you have this pocket of expensive, nice properties. This is going to basically be the best schools in town. There's also some really good schools over here and over here. But the value of the properties in these red and yellow and even dark blue or dark green is going to be higher, okay? So with that being said, this is probably not a place that I want to market for rental property if I was to do marketing, because I don't want to buy a property for 400 grand that rents for 2 grand. It doesn't make sense. It's not a good investment. So what I'm going to be looking for when it comes to my rental properties is, let's go back up to my legend here, is properties the light blue, maybe over to the dark blue, and maybe some of the light green, but probably not. It really is going to depend on the property, the neighborhood. But, you can see in this North County area, you have this light blue. And I would say 50% of the rentals that we own, maybe 60%, are going to be in that area because it just makes sense. We also own a lot of rental properties in the South City area where you have light blue and dark blue. But again, this is a very, very great tool to help you see, let's say that you're not even analyzing your own market. Obviously, analyze your own market. Know what areas are high priced and what are low priced. And there's other tools that we'll get to in a second. But this is definitely great information if you are going to be expanding into a second market or a third market and do some virtual wholesaling or virtual investing, to know how to use this analytics feature. So that's estimated value. Let's do an estimated value over the square foot. All right. also very similar. You're going to see you're going to have this pocket right here, yellow with a couple red dots. You got a lot of blues and greens. I live right here in this Kirkwood area. It's actually De Pere, but it's about right there. And you're going to see, man, look at this big cluster up here in St. Peter's, all the way over here to Wildwood. So the light blue areas, again, they make for really good rental properties. Estimated value by lot size or estimated value by bedroom, not too interested in that per se. Let's look at some of the MLS status. So we have listing price. And this is just going to be basically properties that are on the MLS. These are on market properties right now. It shows you your listing price. You can look at, bedroom and bathroom. So you're going to see that you're going to have the bigger homes in that cluster that are worth more, probably anywhere from, well, the red I think is $1 million or 7 beds in this particular thing. As you change, things are going to change. Now, price growth is another one that I really like to look at. I like to look at like the 6-month growth. So you can see up in this North City area, there's a lot of growth going on up there right now. And it's because NGA is putting in a multi-billion-dollar National Geospatial Agency to spy on everybody. Go figure. But people are starting to make investment in that area because I think they're doing 2, maybe 3 billion. I could be wrong, but that's going to bring a lot of jobs. And if you know anything about people, they don't like to commute. So if you can build up nice homes and neighborhoods around where they're going to be bringing in hundreds, if not thousands, of new jobs, that makes for great investments, great flips, great rentals, so on and so forth. But also the 6-month is great. I like to also look at the 1, the 3, and the 5 years. Let's go to the 3-year. And this is basically showing us the price growth over a 3-year period. So, I'm really looking for the oranges and the reds. And look at up here in the North County area, guys. This is where I own about 60% of my rentals. I'd say 40 properties, give or take, up in that area. And the price growth is growing. So that's great. That means that my rental properties are appreciating in value. Here is the 5-year. Again, we have a lot of oranges up top. We have a little bit of slowing down in this area over the 5-year. This actually shows losses as well, too. So these greens are probably pretty consistent or maybe even have decreased a little bit. This is actually city, whereas over here is county. St. Louis is a unique place because we have a city-county border. And I think there's only one other city in the United States that does that. So we have a city limit and then we have a county limit. And it's basically 2 different governments that are in control. So like if I'm doing a rehab in the county, I got to go deal with county inspectors. If I'm doing a rehab in the city, I got to deal with city inspectors. So it's a little bit broken up here in St. Louis, but doesn't really matter. Next over here, we have retail values, guys. So this would be, rental values. Rental values. So over here, I can do rent price. And this is going to show me, this is very similar, the rent price map, to the value of the properties. If a property is valued at 50 grand, it's probably not going to rent for 2,000 a month, right? It's going to rent for maybe 600, 800, maybe even 1,000, depending on how nice it is. If a property's got a value of $600,000, you would expect that property to rent for anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a month, right? So this is going to be very, very similar to the value of those properties. You can see there's that big pocket right there in the middle, and then a little bit over here in the Wildwood Chesterfield area. And these properties are going to rent for a whole hell of a lot more than the ones up here that are light blue in the North City area or the South City area, because the value of those properties is also going to be higher. Now, if I wanted to do a rent price per square foot, this again, it's just color coordinates it. So, there's no right or wrong way to do analysis. The idea here is to study your market and study it often and figure out the areas and the neighborhoods of the places that make sense for you to invest. So if you are looking to invest as a landlord, well, you're going to probably want to buy something Let's go back over here to estimated values and do estimated value just in general. You're probably going to want to be in the light blue to dark blue areas as a landlord. Now, if you're looking to do new construction or big ass flips, guys, that you buy something for $500,000 and put 200 grand into it, well, then you're going to be looking to invest in this orange and red and yellow area. So figure out the area that makes sense. And I don't know what makes sense for you because I don't know your goals. But I know my goals. My goals are to get 150 properties in the portfolio that are cash flowing, tons of marketing, keep the best, sell the rest. My good buddy Ryan Dossie says, keep the best, wholesale the rest. Same thing, guys. Same thing. We're keeping the best, we're selling the rest. All right, that's the motto. So for me, I'm going to do marketing everywhere. Okay, and if it makes a good rental or a great rehab project, we're going to keep it. And if it doesn't make sense for me, but I can still get a good deal on it, then I'm going to wholesale it out to the rest of the cash buyer community, and we're going to go from there. So this is a really, really great tool to determine estimated values, price growth, rental rates and values, as well as the MLS status. Very, very, very helpful. So that's what market analysis looks like. And I can do this in any city I want. So if I wanted to go to San Diego, California, I can pull up San Diego, and I can do the same thing. I can make this little guy, make this go there. We're going to exit that to get full screen. We're going to zoom in a little bit, and I can do market analysis over here. So I can say estimated value. I want to see the estimated value of these properties, and boom, right? So again, if I was buying rentals in this particular area, I would go for the ones that are in the green or the light blue. I mean, this would be what I would be buying if I invested in San Diego. So you can use this tool to analyze any market in the United States. Doesn't matter if you're wholesaling, if you're fix and flipping. I mean, it has data nationwide, which is truly amazing. So you can see here, this is our value map based upon just the cost of the home. So the value of the home, right? So depending on where you live, it doesn't matter. You can use this tool. Phenomenal tool. Now, if I was going to use Propstream to pull lists of motivated sellers, what I would do is I would go to the city that I'm in, or the city that I wanted to do my investing in this case, St. Louis, Missouri. I'm going to turn off my color so I can see a little bit more. And just by typing in St. Louis, Missouri, again, it's going to show me my unique properties. So there's 384,000 properties in St. Louis, Missouri. That's unbelievable. That's so crazy, okay? So what I can do now to filter out, and again, this is just with the city. I can do a zip code. I can do a county. I can even draw on the map, okay? So let's do a little draw on the map because I think I'm actually going to pull a list here in real time while I got you guys on. So I'm going to click the X up here to get full screen again. And, I really wouldn't mind doing a draw on the map. And I'm going to try to find some properties today in this north corridor right here. Boom. So I can draw on the map, I can hit enter, and then it's going to recalculate. So I had about 380,000-ish properties when I did the entire city. So now what I'm doing is I'm just drawing on an area of the map that I know that I have a lot of rentals in. I know the cost of these homes are going to be lower, and the amount of rents that I'm going to get are going to be higher respectively, right, compared to the other areas around town. Now this is quite a large area, so this may take a little bit of time to actually populate. I'm going to make it simpler. So here, let me start over and make this smaller. It will populate, but it may take a minute or two. So I can actually just start over and make my little area on the map smaller so it can populate that a little bit more. Or I can just type in a specific city. So let's just do Florissant, Missouri, and that will populate just Florissant. And again, you can do it lots of different ways. You can draw on the map or you can type it in. So in this particular area of Florissant, there's 39,000 properties. If I wanted to just pull my vacants, I click right there, and this is just the vacants in Florissant. And I can then click here, and I can add to list and export those properties, or I can kind of narrow it down to other things. So let's say that I want to go back to Florissant here, and I don't want to get just vacants. So let's clear all. Back to Florissant. Just spell it right. Florissant. It's got too many Florissants. There we go. Florissant Mo. Uh-oh. All right, back to this. 39,000 properties. So if I wanted to like find myself a list for properties in Florissant, which I've done a million times, and I'm going to do it again here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this filter. And I'm going to say owner occupied. I don't really care if they live there or not. Occupancy status, I don't really care if it's vacant or not. But I do want to get properties that are off the market. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to toggle off the market. Now you'll notice as I start making changes, it's going to add that information to my legend up here. And it's also going to change my unique properties over here. It's going to actually start shrinking those down as I add layers of filters on the top. So, property characteristics. I don't really want to deal with multis or farms or feedlots or livestock or any of this crazy stuff that they allow you to do. Look at all these options. Again, very cool to narrow stuff down if you're looking for a specific thing. And oftentimes I'll have a buyer that comes to me and says, hey, I want to buy mobile home parks. So I'll just click on those. Or I'll find something that, is just really, really unique. But for today's training in this demo, I'm just going to click on single families, and on classifications, I'm just going to click on residential. So this is basically single family residential houses. I typically only like to buy a 2-bedroom minimum. Sometimes we'll buy 1-bedroom houses, but they have to have a square footage minimum. But in this scenario, I'm just going to do a 2-bedroom. And I'm going to do a building size of, I'm going to do a minimum of 800, okay? So you'll notice that my properties over here went from 34 to 30. It didn't move a whole lot, which is fine. 2-bed, 1-bath, HOA, any, okay? So now what I want to do is I'm going to go down to my valuation, and I'm going to put my estimated equity at 30% minimum. So 34,000 is now going to move my number down to 22,000. Okay. Next, I'm going to take my ownership, and typically people that have just bought a property aren't going to be motivated to sell that property. Good morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my minimum ownership to 7. That means that they've owned this property for 7 years or more, and my number has now moved down to 16,410. So I can keep filtering this down, keep going, until I get this list down to a number that makes sense for me. So what else am I going to do? Let's see here. I have estimated value. I don't really want to buy houses that are going to be less than maybe 20,000. And I don't want to buy houses in this area that are going to be above, let's say, 130,000, because I'm looking for rentals today. So this is going to be a great way. Boom, look, I'm down to 8,900. So just by adding in some information about the estimated value, that's going to narrow down. Let's take this down to even 90 and see what that does. So 8,900 on my right side goes to 1,269. Boom. So again, here's my legend. So I can see over here that I have a residential single-family property, 2 or more beds, 800 square feet or more, not on the market. I don't want listed properties, guys. I want to go direct to the seller and get a deal. That's the point. I want to get a deal. Years of ownership, 7 or more. Include unknown sales date, yes. Now I could take that off by clicking this X, and that's going to take my number from 1,200 to 713. So having the unknown sales date is probably something that I want to keep in there, which I can check this box right here to add that back, and that puts me at 1,200. So if I wanted to narrow this down even more, I could, but quite honestly, 1,269 is a good list right there. So this is residential, single family, 2 or more bed, 800 square feet or more. They've owned it for 7 years. It does include the unknown last sale date. My estimated value is between 20 and 90, which I'm actually going to modify. And then my estimated equity is 30% or more. I'm not going after properties, guys, that don't have any equity. How in the hell am I going to get a deal on those properties? I won't, unless they bring money to the table. So in order for me to really be happy with this particular list, I'm going to take my estimated value up to 30 or 35, because 20 is a little low for this area. So let's put 35 to 90. That brings me to 1,269 leads, and that is it. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pull these leads, and I'm going to start texting them. I'm going to start cold calling them. I may even send some direct mail to them. I'm either going to have somebody from my team call them, or I'm going to pay marketing to get my message in front of them, which could be direct mail. It could be maybe hanging bandit signs in that neighborhood. It could be some of my radio advertisements. Whatever it is, I'm going to pay to get these people to know that I'm willing to buy their house, so they call me, or I'm going to be able to call them. All right. So let's make sure that my stream's still good. Cool. So what I would do from here is I would click unique properties, and I have 1,269 selected. I'm going to click add to list, and I'm going to create a new list. So today we're going to call this 9-4 fluorescent high equity. I abbreviate a lot. 7+ years, high equity, 7+ years, 2-bed, 800 square foot plus. And I know I had some other criteria, but that's okay. This is basically the main stuff. We're going to create a new list, and we're going to save it just like that. Boom. So now I have a list of properties in fluorescent, high equity, 30% minimum equity. They could have more, but they have a minimum equity of 30%. I'm looking for 7+ years of ownership. I'm looking for 2-bed, 800 square foot plus. So that would include my 3 beds, my 4 beds, my 5 beds, my properties of 1,500 square foot, 2,500 square foot, right? All of the above. So now that I've basically saved that list, I can go over here to my properties, which is the next tab down, and I can find my list that I just created for 9-4 fluorescent, and it's going to then populate my list. So right here, it's going to show me the owner's name of all these properties. It's going to show me their mailing address. So if I wanted to do some direct mail, boom, I have my information right here. This also pulls in tons and tons and tons of extra data, guys. So this has the last recording date, open loans, remaining balances on those loans. Knowing what somebody owes on a property is really, really, really helpful when making offers, because you don't want to make an offer below that number necessarily, but at the same time, you don't want to make an offer really crazy high above it if they're maybe willing to take less. So it's just a tool that you can have in your belt to help you determine if your offer is going to be a good offer by knowing what they owe. It's really, really helpful. So if I wanted to do a skip trace of this, I can do a skip trace right in Propstream. I can also just export this list and then skip trace it elsewhere. And then from there, once I have it skip traced, I can upload it, import it into a dialer or a cold texting service, or do whatever I want to do with it. So to export, I'm going to click right here, and you can see 1,269 leads were selected, and then I can just click export right there. And this usually takes, I don't know, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, boom. 1,269 exported leads close. There it is. So let me open up my file that just downloaded so you guys can get an idea of what this looks like. And here we are. So you have all of the property, you have all of the property addresses on the left side. You have the city, the state, the zip, the county. You have the owner's name, first name, last name. You may have a mailing care of, a mailing address. You can have all kinds of information in here. How big is my lot? What's the square footage of this particular property? How many bed? How many bath? So here's my leads. So just like that, I have exported almost 1,300 leads, high equity. Now this isn't vacant. These are just high equity, but they do have other criteria, right? They have 7+ years of ownership, 2-bed, 800 square foot. So from there, again, I could skip trace this list, and I could add this list. I could skip trace it right here. I believe Propstream actually now does. They do the skip tracing, and they do campaigns too. So you can do campaigns. You can create postcards. You can send emails to people. You can have multiple campaigns at the same time, target a specific group if you want. They even offer create a website now. They have all kinds of really cool stuff. I don't use those campaigns yet. I export out and do it elsewhere, but I also have other products and services that I use. So that's why. But if you don't and you're just going to start with Propstream, check out those campaign tools. Those campaign tools are awesome, guys. So I am going to hook up my phone real quick, and I'm going to show you guys the Propstream mobile app. And the mobile app is included with your membership, so you don't have to pay any extra for that per se. Let's hook up my cell phone here, and I can pull this in. I probably got about 10 more minutes. I got my cleaning folks are on their way over. All right, here is my phone pulling up, and let's go get Propstream mobile app, and we can add this to the screen here. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, it's not pulling up. Let's try this one more time. See if we can't get our phone to pull up here. Come on. Are you leaving? Where are you going? Okay. All right, here we go. Trust. Add my password so we can see that. See it, babe. So we can see my phone. And we're having a little technical difficulty here this morning with the phone. We're going to get it figured out. Okay, pull it in, guys. Pull it in. What are you waiting for here? It's not wanting to connect. Let's try a different port here. And really, this is just the app. All the things that we did in the last hour demonstration, we can basically do on the phone with the mobile app. And it is included with the subscription. I think there's a link down below the video to get a free trial. They do offer a 7-day free trial. Guys, I use this all day, every day. Literally, I'm in on this app or I'm on the website. It's not letting me do it right this second, of course. Probably need to update my computer or something. So that's all right. We'll just wrap it up from there. But the mobile app, I can show you guys real quick, is very, very basic and simple. It looks like this when you start. It's not really wanting to focus. And you can just type in a property. So let's do the same one we did, 218 North Floridale. And 63135. We'll pull that up. And boom, just like that, it's going to have, and you can't see it. I wish I could get let's try it one more time, guys. One more time. Try to pull this in. This is a really, really cool feature that it has to use the phone. I haven't had issues, so trust this computer. Type in my passcode. I should be able to pull this up on the screen here in just a second. Yeah, it's still not working. But all the things that I just did on my computer, I can do from my phone in the field. I like to use the computer when I am pulling my lists or doing a really deep analysis, a bigger screen. It's easier to use. But if you're in the car or on the road or at a property, you can pull up Propstream and you can look at all that other information. So basically it's all there. You can see the details, you can see the comps, you can see your opportunity, which is really, really cool. It's not letting it show very well. You can do your skip tracing from the phone. You can even send postcards from the phone. The app actually does driving for dollars now too, which is really, really cool. I don't use it for that, I'll be honest with you guys, but it does have a driving for dollars functionality now, which is really, really cool. So I'm starting to use more and more of these features. I basically use it for two things. I use it to, well, three things actually: market analysis for my own market, as well as markets that I may be dealing with students and we want to do some analysis for their market. Or if I'm going to be doing virtual wholesaling in another market, I'd want to be able to do market analysis. So number one, market analysis. Number two is comping. So it's basically property analysis, determining what a good offer would be, what the estimated value is, what the ARV is, what do the comps show. Do they support a high ARV, or do they support a low ARV, right? And then three, last but not least, exporting leads, which you guys just saw me do. So what kind of leads do I like to export? People that would have presumed motivation. So what does that look like? Death, divorce, disease, vacant properties, back taxes, code violations, you name it, right? So typically I'm looking for properties that are vacant, but not always. Absentee owned. I mean, typically your absentee owned and your vacant properties are going to be 75% of the deals that we buy. They're either vacant or they're absentee owned. So I would start there. Don't overthink it when you're getting into this and you're new. Don't worry about having having a list that's perfect. Don't spend hours and hours and hours. Literally, I pulled a list in maybe 10, 15 minutes or less. You guys should do the same. So start with properties in your area. Start with properties that are absentee owned and or vacant, and just go from there. You don't need to worry about having crazy amount of criteria, but you also don't want to maybe export 10,000 leads if you can't afford to mail all of them or skip trace all of them. So narrow it down. Use the draw on the map feature and use all those filters to take out the properties that you don't want. So what properties do I take out? Anything with 30% equity or lower. I can't get a deal on a property that only has 10% equity. There's just not any equity there for me to capture unless that seller's bringing money to the table. So I filter out the low equity or 30% and below. I typically filter out properties that are listed on the MLS. I don't want to deal with the agents. That's a pain in the ass. And if somebody's listed on the MLS, they're assuming they're going to get retail. The agent's already sold them on that. That's the agent's job, guys, to sell them on the fact that they're going to be able to get them a full retail price for that property. I also filter out properties that have been purchased recently. Now, you don't have to go to 7 years. You can go to 3 or 5 or 7. In some cases, when I'm doing big places on the map, I may filter out the years of ownership to anybody that hasn't owned it for at least 10 years. I don't want to look at because it'll help narrow down my list. But that's basically what I filter out. I filter out low equity, on market status, and recently purchased. And that's it. And the rest you can add in, filter out to help reduce your list down. You can also reduce the size of your list to help get it down. And that's it. And then you get those lists and you skip trace them, you mail them, you cold call them, you cold text them, you do some sort of marketing. That's what wholesaling is. It's the marketing business. And if you are a landlord or you're a fix and flip rehabber, doesn't matter. Just find and market to the places that you want to be investing. I'll have to do this again soon, guys. I'll have to get my phone and computer working a little bit better so I can show you the mobile app. But again, it is included. Propstream is my favorite tool for pulling lists and running comps. It's basically the only tool you will need to run nationwide comps and pull lists of motivated sellers nationwide. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to be signing off, guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Hopefully you learned a little bit about market analysis, running comps, and pulling lists. This is an all-in-one place to go do that. I absolutely love it. And that's all I got for you guys today. So thanks for watching, and drop a comment down below if you guys have questions about this training. I'll be happy to answer those and connect with you guys soon. I'm going to go make another cup of coffee and start my day. Signing off.